there, my name is Porsha Lauri. Welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. There's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately and I couldn't get it out of my head, so I decided to do kind of an impromptu video today to kind of get it out of my system. But there's something I haven't been able to stop thinking about since I filmed my last video, which if you haven't already, it'll be linked down in the description. But the last video I uploaded was all about fan fiction. And one of the things I brought up in that video is the websites that were really popularized with having fan fiction. And I mentioned in that video that one of the places that was considered pretty popular at the time to find these stories would be Tumblr. And ever since I mentioned that, I haven't stopped thinking about Tumblr. I remember hearing about it a little bit during the height of its popularity, which was right around like 2014, I wanna say. I remember it was like one of those places where you could ask anonymous questions to your friends and then just like answer them, which was a popular forum topic on MySpace. So I was already indoctrinated to liking that format, but for whatever reason, Tumblr just didn't stick for me. I opted instead to watch a bunch of YouTube videos about the world of Tumblr and how apparently it's currently making a callback. I found a couple tier lists that I thought would be really fun to kind of go through, and we can kind of live together vicariously on the nostalgia that was the 2010's Tumblr era. Now, also something I feel like I should mention, because in all of the content I watched about what the Tumblr era was, there are also quite a few negative aspects of the website that come into play. And I will not be visiting those topics today, but I will leave a whole list of all of the videos that I thought were super informational about this website, about what it offered, and what the negative side of this website was. And I will leave all of that information down in the description box below. These are going to be looking back at the more silly, aesthetic-y trends of that era, mostly within the style. I kind of think that this is going to be more of a fun walk down memory lane than me just being like cringed out by everything. Let's just get into these rankings. And as always, if you enjoy listening to my opinion on all things pop culture, movies, music, fashion, do me a solid and drop a like on this video, then run over to that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it so you can be notified every time I upload. Without any further ado, let's get into these rankings. I'm trying to go for like, I don't know, soft grunge. I don't know anything about fashion. That is my big mission of 2023, is to have style. For now, this is as good as it's gonna get. I definitely will say I've had a Pinterest since about 2008 or 9. I think that's when the website really started to like pop off. And so I have been saving outfits like this for years. Again, I didn't realize I was a Tumblr girly, but I'm for sure should have been a Tumblr girly. But anyway, here's my soft grunge look, complete with like all silver jewelry, because that was the only thing I was into wearing in those days. You would never catch me in gold. Sorry if I sound like I'm rushing. I have a limited amount of time before my boyfriend gets home from work, and I just find it really hard and distracting to film when anyone else is home, so I only film when I'm alone. And so I'm like, I gotta go. Like, we don't have time for this. I was also watching Inventing Anna the other day, and so every time I say I don't have time for this, I can only imagine it in her accent.
I do not have time for this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump into it. I'm not gonna explain, because I didn't make this rank list, I'm not gonna like explain how it works. I think we all know how these things work, so I'm just gonna go into it. So the first thing it says is chokers. Let me tell you, I own so many chokers, and I dare you to find a photo of me wearing one. Go ahead, go to my Instagram. And while you're there, why don't you hit that follow button? You can also try my Twitter. While you're there, you could hit that follow button. I don't know, just a thought. But like, just tell me, have you ever seen me wear a choker? I own them, but I like them, which is why I continuously buy them, because I want to like this aesthetic piece, but there's just something about it that just doesn't work. However, I feel really passionate about, you know, chokers and the choker community. So I'm gonna put this in. I kind of dig it because I really do. Bucket hats. Not something I personally associate with the early 2010s fashions, but I think that's because I was really heavy into my like neon, kind of 80s, kind of 90s soft grunge look thing that I was going for, or again, whatever this version, this 20-something version of me was. But like bucket hats were not part of the conversation then, and they continue to not be part of the conversation for me now. I did used to wear bucket hats when I was in elementary school. Early 90s, like big, obnoxious, colorful hats, usually with like large appliques, like bows or like flowers or I don't know, like fuzzy balls. Like all of those were really big in the 90s. And so when I think of bucket hats, like that's the only version I think of. So yeah, bucket hats have not been a thing for me for like a minute. When I think of bucket hats, honestly, I really think about Mac Miller. Like I feel like his kind of like grandpa shops at the Goodwill and just kind of wears everything he owns simultaneously was like really trendy in the early 2000s for men. Especially if you were like the type of dude that like you didn't know you only shopped at Urban Outfitters, but there was only one store you ever went to for clothes and it just so happened to be Urban Outfitters. That's what the bucket hat serves me. I'm gonna put this in, but why though? It's not for me, but I'm also not here to yuck other people's yum. So if you're into it, by all means, like keep being into it. Combat boots. Yo, okay, so this really, this just like defines my fashion sense in the early 2000s. I don't know why this one is hitting me so specifically, but I just remember going on the lookout for combat boots. I don't really know what the criteria was, aside from that it had to look like a combat boot without looking too much like a combat boot. Like, I don't want them to look like I could do real work in them, but they have to look like they're worn in. Like, what was the plan here? All that being said, I absolutely love combat boots. I love a good combat boot. I very rarely will wear heels, and honestly, my favorite version of a heel is to wear something that looks like a combat boot, but it's got a heel on it. Sold. Those are my favorite shoes. I'm gonna go with To This Day because I still be rocking the combat boots on the regular. So this next photo just shows like text, like simple text across a t-shirt. So I'm guessing this is like the graphic tee era. Definitely was a big fan of this at the time. Like I still have a cropped t-shirt in my closet that says "but first coffee." Anyway, I think this is the graphic tee era, which I'm still heavily into. I adore graphic tee. This is definitely going into this day. I think that's got to go even in front of the combat boots. I've been rocking graphic tees for a long time, and it's so funny because they go so in and out of fashion. I would say like right now graphic tees aren't like the biggest thing ever. Like if you want to wear them, like cool or whatever, it's cooler if they're like music related or like band related, but like graphic tees are not really a show-stopping fashion moment like they once were. But I think this is just reminiscent of the first time in my personal lifetime where graphic tees were super popular, and that was in the early 2000s. Like I'm talking 2000 to like 2006 or something like that. That's when I remember graphic tees being just like out of control. They were everywhere. Chokers again, but this time glittery. I'm gonna put this into throw away the key. I'm not big into like thick chokers. Like it's a little too medieval to me, and it almost feels more like we're edging on like bondage, which like if that's what you're into, by all means, like cool, but it's not for me. Oh, I do remember this next one. Okay, so like there was like a boot trend where it would be like floral print all over your boots. I never actually got into this. Oh my God, these like DIY, like literally Lauri DIY. Like I think the first time I ever saw her in like my life would probably be this era when she was doing all of these cool like DIYs for your t-shirts. And like I never did stuff like this where it involved like really intricate like braiding or twisting. I'm like, I do not have the time or the coordination for that. I loved like cutting a good muscle tee. I have an Iron Maiden shirt that I like ripped the back of it so it's all like super open. I still love that shirt. So yes, to this day, the DIY t-shirt, no, we have to put this and throw away the key. But let me just say, we were all living for this pattern at one point in time, and I'm sorry that I was part of the reason it was popular. Galaxy print. Why did we want to cover everything in galaxy print? I liked it in the sense that I would like repost like quotes and stuff with like galaxy backgrounds. I have a Panic at the Disco shirt that has that galaxy background. Because their music's futuristic? No, because it was just a really popular pattern at the time. What, again, a time to be alive. High-low skirts. I still think that these are kind of attractive, like show off the knees, but like keep it church appropriate in the back. I'm gonna put this in C. Like, is it necessary? No. But I'm not against it. I don't think it looks bad. I don't think it's unflattering. I just don't necessarily think your knees need to be on display if like the back of your knees can't have the same exposure. I don't know. Do what you do though. I think this next one is either a note on Keds, which were super popular, especially the trend of wearing like hyper feminine dainty dresses with sneakers. But I don't know if it's talking about Keds specifically, which I just remember being a hugely popular brand, or if they mean sneakers in general. But I know that during the early 2000s, yo girl, Vans. Like, I was obsessed with Vans. I had so many Vans. I kind of feel like sneakers are making a comeback again, like not only with like people who are classic sneakerheads, but I think sneakers in general have become to move the needle fashionably. And I just think that they're like considered more like they can be more high fashion than they ever used to be. So I'm gonna put sneakers in the to this day. I do love a comfy shoe. I am a comfy shoe queen, and I like things that last. So I typically will spend a little bit more money on good sneakers because in the long run, it's so much more worth it. Oh my God, to the knee boots. Whenever I see these, I instantly think about preppy, like PSLs. It's giving, I just started a blog, I need to go to Starbucks. It's giving, I shop at Pink. I think SNL just did a skit about this a couple weeks ago. Remember, like, white woman in a large hat? That's what it's giving. But I am a basic bitch, so I guess that kind of tracks. It's all of those things. So I'm gonna put it in, but I'm gonna put it in I kind of dig it, because I'm not gonna lie, I still for sure own boots like this. Pastel colored hair, yo, you know I'm a big fan of this to this day. I just haven't achieved it yet. Putting that in the top tier because your bitch loves colorful hair. I've just always been obsessed with colorful hair. Obey, and I'm just gonna wrap in like any other like name brand stuff. This is not my bag. I don't know, I'm just not a labels bitch. I think that really ended for me around the Hollister phase. Like, I was definitely heavy into Hollister, obsessed with it. I worked at Hollister just because I wanted the discount, which was nothing. That's the only time that I've ever willingly been like a walking billboard for a clothing company, and I believe it's the last. So I'm really not into stuff that just like shouts out the name of a company unless it's done in a really creative and cool way. But like this kind of stuff just does nothing for me. So I'm gonna put it in C, because designers like don't need to go away. I just think that there's so many more creative ways to like shout out your brand and get good marketing than just being like Supreme. Like, that's just not exciting to me. That's not fun. Thick, chunky boots. That's something I've gotten into a lot this past year. I don't have a lot to share about it, but I'm just gonna put it in C. Like, it's fine. It's definitely like a trend that's still trendy. You have to know how to style them before you like just throw them on. You just don't throw those on with any old outfit. I say with conviction as if I know anything about fashion. Fake glasses, which again, I was a really big fan of that trend. I'm gonna put it in, but why though? It's a silly trend, but that's not gonna stop me from wearing them. Bedazzled corsets. I think this is when raving started to be really like socially acceptable. Not that it shouldn't be, just that like rave culture was like super underground. And I think this is the era where EDM started to have like a place in mainstream music. So obviously that created some fashion trends that kind of bleeded over into everyday wear. I didn't participate in this, but I did participate. Like I was really into like the crop top with like the inch of skin and then your bottom starting from there, usually like high-waisted fit and flare skirts. Like I was super into that. Like don't get me wrong. I just don't know if I participate in that specific trend, but if I can find anything, we'll throw it up. I'm also using this video to just show all of my worst fashion mistakes. I think this next one is gonna be like lids, like those classic, like super flat brim hats, which again, I'm not a hat girl, so this is going into a C. It's cool for other people. It's not a trend for me. Uggs. I don't think I need to tell you how much I loved my Uggs until I destroyed them in California rain, which is like so ironic because it rains like what 5 days out of the year, and I managed to destroy them on all 5 days of that year. Like pathetic. By far, still one of the best purchases I've ever made in my entire life. Uggs are so warm. Don't get me wrong, go get fake Uggs, they're just as good. All I'm saying is like the construction of the actual boot, like the idea of these shoes, excellent. 10 out of 10 recommend. Wedges, I still be rocking wedges. I don't really have much to add on about it. Yo, oh my God, I haven't thought about these in forever. Do you guys remember heeled sneakers? I know, me too. I don't think I ever owned a pair of heeled sneakers. I wanted them and I would relentlessly try them on at like every store I ever shopped at, but I would never pull the plug and actually buy them. I hope that those are making a comeback because I want to find some. Okay, oh shoot, that was it. That ended so quickly. Here is my tier list. This was really fun. I hope you had fun going down memory lane with me and through the amazing Tumblr fashion that was the 2010s. As always, if you enjoyed this video, do me a solid and drop a like on it down at the bottom, and then make sure to go in those comments and tell me what your 2010s fashion was like. Thank you for all the love I've gotten on my videos this year. I have a lot of new stuff coming in for 2023, which is why I filmed this video, because all of those are gonna take quite a bit more research. So in between that, I wanted to give you some kind of content so you don't forget about me. Hope you have had a wonderful holiday season or are going to have a wonderful holiday season, depending on when you watch this. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.